Hello everybody, today is day 3 of the daily objective system. You can now do daily objectives to earn passes. Just to remind everybody, you will no longer receive passes when you send your older horses to heaven, so don't forget that tomorrow, which is February 1st, that normally would have been the day that your pass horse limit would reset. That limit's not going to reset because we technically don't have a limit anymore now that we don't have pass horses. Because we're a few days into this update already, I'm not going to talk about the update. I'm just going to talk about the objectives that I've gotten on International over the last 3 days. And I also thought I would show you today's objectives on the other 4 English speaking servers that I'm on. Before we get into the objectives though, let's just talk about Yggdrasil for a moment. As you can see on my trophies page, I don't have an Yggdrasil Divine. I think the oldest horse I have that was from my would-be February-March pass horse farm is about 19 years old. It's not ready to be sent off to heaven anyway. I don't even want to spend the aging points on it because, in short, I just don't feel that Yggdrasil, the payout of him is worth what you're putting into him. If you guys had watched Total Cretins reacting to pass horse removal video a few weeks ago, she had a nice chart that she posted that gave an estimate on the number of horses you would have to send to heaven in order to get through each of his agings and therefore get each of his gifts. Her estimate was based on the horses being about 30 years old when they're sent to heaven, and because there is a 10 horse a day limit to count towards Yggdrasil, if you're sending fewer horses than that, such as 25 years, which is the youngest horse can be to be sent off to heaven to age Yggdrasil, it will take you a lot longer to age him up. If the horses you're sending to heaven are older than 30, such as 32, 34, what have you, it won't take as long. But if those horses you're sending to heaven are about 30 years old and you're sending 10, 30-year-old horses to heaven each day, it'd take you about 5,000 horses to get to his final aging, which gives you an H-wing staff. That means you're not getting a gift for each horse that you're sending to heaven. And for me, it's just not worth it. What I did with pass horses, I bred horses specifically for the purpose of sending to heaven, because with all of my project horses, the blups that I'm done with, okay, I've bred enough foals from them, it's time to move on to the next generation. I keep them around to boost my general ranking, and because I'm into collecting retired coats, I put limited coats on them or pre-CS coats that might have a chance to retire. Those aren't horses that I want to age up and pass on. So as soon as they reach 25 and they start losing skills, I put them away in a different farm so they don't keep losing the skills, and that will cost me my general ranking. So for me personally, I just don't find Yggdrasil worth it. I don't know that even if I do get a horse up to 25 years old that I'm willing to part with. I just don't think I'm going to get him in general. So I don't know. If I do, when I do, I'm definitely not going to actively send horses to heaven for him. If they age up, okay, but if not, I'm not going to purposely try for it. So let's get on to these objectives. These are my international server objectives. As you can see, I already claimed my past rewards for the day. I've been pleasantly surprised. Well, more like I've just been lucky because I know what objectives to expect because I was testing it for a few weeks on the test server. But so I know I've just been lucky on the objectives I've gotten so far. Today I had to win a trot competition, which was doable with Jupiter. I have to win 2 competitions daily with him anyway just to get passes, and I just made sure that one of those was a trot competition. And put a horse up for auction. This one I am fine with because even if you're somebody who doesn't sell horses that often, you don't currently have any horses you're willing to sell, you can just list the horse, come back, claim your passes, and then take the horse down from the auction. So that one's fine. On January 29th, which was the first day of the objectives, I had to buy a meadow or greenhouse or workshop or box for my equestrian center. This one did not have a practical purpose for me because I've been playing for about 12 years now, and for the last 6 or so, I've been trying to work up my equestrian center. I have 200 boxes, all of which I obtained because of my pass horse farm. I don't need that many boxes anymore, but I'm going to keep them. So, regardless, whatever, I don't need any more boxes. Because I've had that many boxes for a while, I have enough meadows to sustain all those boxes. I don't need any more meadows. I currently have 5 workshops, only 4 of which can be in production at the moment because unfortunately my prestige slipped just under 80%. But I'm happy with the 5 workshops that I have right now. They're just a mix of medium and small workshops. I suppose I could get a large one, but with the resources that I use with these, it works out compared to the resources that I'm taking in daily, my leather and my iron. I don't want a large workshop because I don't want that to throw off my production. So I don't need to buy a workshop. And then what was the other one? A greenhouse. I mean, I guess I could have bought a large greenhouse because I only have one 25-acre one and then I have a few 10 acres. But again, I'm happy with this. This works out for me. So what I did just to make it cheap, I went and I bought the cheapest meadow, which was 2,700. I don't know why, but I thought that was 2,500. Anyway, 2,700, so I didn't have to spend that much on it. But for me, that objective just didn't really have much of a purpose to it, but at least it was easy, I suppose. Yesterday, January 30th, I had to reach 15 years old with the horse and give birth to 3 horses. This one had the potential to cost you a lot of aging points. Luckily, I have my immortal aging point farm, and I still had a few horses that weren't quite 15 years old. I had one that was in the 14-year range, and I only had to use a couple aging points on him. And then, thanks to somebody in the comments from several videos ago, they gave me the idea of having a broodmare farm that I just constantly kept breeding, not even that many mares or whatever. And then that way, if I'm constantly having mares that are in foal, they're not that far away from giving birth, and I don't have to spend a bunch of aging points to first get a mare ready to be covered and then aging her up so she's ready to foal, because that one would take you at least 12 aging points, I think. For this one in particular, though, I had my unicorn projects that were just a couple of months away from foaling, so I had to spend like 2 aging points for 3 mares, and that was pretty cheap. But otherwise, if you weren't prepared for that, that could take you quite a few aging points. Now, for my other objectives, this is the US server, and also I'm going to just give a fair warning. I do acknowledge that I am going to be very picky on some of these objectives. And the reason for that is I'm comparing the benefits to this system to the benefits of the Passhorse system, at least the benefits or how it benefited me, because I know, the Passhorse system wasn't for everybody. This system may not be for everybody. So I'm just going to compare how this affects my gameplay to, what the Passhorses did for me. Working my farm of about 200 to 300 Passhorses took me about 2 minutes every day. I wish. It took me about 10 minutes every day. And these objectives, most of them you can complete in about a minute or so. So I'm saving about 9 to 8 minutes. Time-wise, the objectives are better. Now, the benefits of Passhorses. I wasn't just getting passes from them when they were aged up and ready to be sent to heaven. As I mentioned before, I got Equus and iron resources from doing missions and lessons with them every day. I got droppings that I could feed to my plant horse divines because I need a lot of droppings for them, and I got aging points from working them daily because just the regular horses that I work on a daily basis don't really supply me with a whole lot of aging points, but my Passhorse farm did. So I'm kind of comparing the Passhorse system to these objectives. Yes, these objectives are giving you 10 and 20 passes each day, but what other resources are you getting in the process of doing these objectives? For these 2 objectives, I'm not really getting much beyond the pass reward. For this first one on the US server, I have to receive the color bonus on a horse that never had it before and put a unicorn or winged unicorn to bed. This one is easy. That's fine if you're somebody who has some unicorns. That's not really a big problem. I do wish these colored tack objectives would go away because this is really difficult to get a hold of on a day's notice. You pretty much have to save these up from winning them from events or on player UFOs, because players with the VIP Pegasus account perk can set them as custom UFOs, or save the ones that you get from luck items. This is just really tricky. I wish this one would go away. And then for the UK server, I have to stroke 30 horses and groom a donkey. The donkey one's fine. This one can be beneficial because you could put a golden apple coat on it to count for the golden apple coat trophies, to count towards your donkey, the coat trophies for a donkey, and then the species trophy. That one's fine. Stroke 30 horses, I feel like, is counterproductive to getting rid of pass horses, because if that was difficult for some players, especially on a mobile device, I didn't like working pass horses on my phone. That was just terrible. I feel like this is counterproductive because that's half of the minimum 60 horses that I recommend having in your pass horse farm. anyway, and I didn't stroke my pass horses because all you have to do with the horse is feed it and groom it and put it to bed on time. So that's not even required. But anyway, that's just me. That's just personal, personal preference. On the AU server, I've gotten some kind of nasty objectives so far. Today's aren't too bad. Stroke 7 horses and spend an aging point on a horse that is 4 years old. I only have 5. I have 6 on here, so I would have to age one of them up, and then I think 2 or 3 of them are reindeer divines. Okay, I have 3 of the reindeer, so those I can't actually age up, but I mean, this one's doable, so that's fair, I suppose. But the reason why I said these objectives have been kind of nasty to me so far is that on the first day, I'm pretty positive I had to remove a unicorn horn. And I thought that was surprising because I didn't already have a unicorn. And then what made it even worse is yesterday on the second day, it asked me to cover a unicorn. So if you look at the horse sales here, what would have happened should I have wanted to complete these objectives, which I'm not going to do that on these other servers. I don't really have a need to because I don't play on them all that much. But I would have gone into the sales here and I would have spent, we filter by price, at least 50,000 today, let's say. I would have spent 50,000 to buy a unicorn to remove the horn. And on the second day, I would have had to spend an additional 50,000 to then cover the unicorn. I feel like it would have made more sense if you could schedule these objectives in a way to make it more practical for your gameplay. I would have done cover a unicorn first, so you could cover it as many times as you needed to in order to give birth to a unicorn foal. Although keep in mind, you can't cover, what is it? You have to wait 10 hours, I think. Probably won't say on this one, but for a mare, I think you have to wait 10 hours between each covering. So I probably would have had to go out and buy another one anyway. But anyway, regardless, it would have been nice to cover a unicorn to give birth to a unicorn foal, and then I could remove the horn from the mare when I was done with it. But otherwise, I would have spent 100,000 2 different days to only get 20 passes in return. So that's it for the AU server objectives. And for the CA server, I have to purchase a horse in an auction, wait 20 horses. We're back to the working 20 horses, which again, I find is just counterproductive to getting rid of pass horses. But we'll move on from that. Purchase a horse in auction. I do feel like this is one that needs to go away. It's kind of a problem during the Great Challenge anyway, especially on these smaller servers where there aren't as many active auctions. Like if you look here, if I did not get this horse here within 5 minutes, I now have to wait 31 minutes until the next auction is close to being over. And then of course you have it resets every 30 seconds if somebody bids within the last 30 seconds, and then it resets, which I'm fine with. I do actually like that the bidding works like that because it's really nice if you're on a mobile device. I can actually win an auction on my phone now because of that system. But in terms of the objectives, it's kind of a pain because you have to wait 30 minutes or come back in 30 minutes to start bidding on another auction. If you don't win that one, then you have to, wait another 10 minutes for the next one, then another 10 minutes for the next one, and so on and so forth. And then, of course, that's not really even getting into the really difficult objectives such as winning a rosette. Then you have the ones where you have to apply different black market items, which I don't feel is worth the passes that you're getting in return, unless you luck out and you happen to have a horse that you're ready to put that particular item on that day. But I still don't know that I feel like it's fair to have to do that. And another point of fairness is that it seems odd that I could just purchase a horse in an auction and get 10 passes from that, whereas somebody else has to remove Pegasus wings and they only get 10 passes from that. Or for me, I have to wait 20 horses and get 20 passes. And then somebody else might just have to feed a Pegasus and you get 20 passes from it. So players are doing and putting different sorts of effort into these different objectives, but we're all getting the same reward from them. So I don't know that I like that much, because with pass horses, you could set that system up in a way that benefited you. If you didn't have the money to spend on them every month, which I didn't want to spend thousands and millions of equus to buy pass horses, so I just bred my own for 100 a piece and then raised them from scratch. But if you're somebody who's maybe on a mobile device and it's a pain in the rear to have to work horses on there, or if you didn't have 10 minutes every day to work them, then you could raise the money and you could buy them yourselves. They're very flexible. But with these objectives, you definitely have to do them as stated if you want the passes from them. So that's just my thoughts on the objectives. I know, the pass horse system wasn't for everybody. This system may not be for everybody. The biggest change I would like to see to it, I could work with these, make them doable if we could either pick from like multiple, you have a list of like maybe 10 objectives for that day, and then you could pick the two that you want to do. Or even better, if we had a week's time to do like the 14 objectives or something, because then you're more able to plan out ahead. Like, okay, on Friday, or I have a week in which to use an item from the reproduction category. Maybe I want to breed a skiller or a competition horse, so I'll come up with an Aphrodite steers. That'll give me time, to think of a good project that I could use that Aphrodite steers on. So let me know what you guys think of the objectives. What ones have you gotten so far? What resources did you have to put into it in order to complete it? Have they been pretty practical, for your gameplay style, or have you made some adjustments to your gameplay style in order to complete some of these objectives? So thank you guys for joining me today, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.